Now, I know I said I was gonna leave it at the MVP conversation in the last video, unless something crazy came out with the voting, and something kind of crazy came out with the voting. As expected, Nikola Jokic won his second straight MVP, but it was a way closer race than I think people are even realizing. So they put out the voting breakdown, which is every journalist, every voter, everyone has 5 spots. So they designate five players for MVP with point values from I think 10 down to 1, and then they tally that up. So you get a couple. We'll go through the bottom of that list because it's really interesting to think about too. But at the top, so Nikola Jokic wins with 65 first place votes. Sounds like a lot, but it's actually the second fewest since 2006 when Steve Nash won the award with 57 first place votes. So it's a lot closer than it might seem. Embiid only gets 26 first place votes, but he cleaned up in second and third, which makes it a little bit closer. It does look like there's a disparity. You look at the total points, and it's 875 for Jokic, 706 for Embiid, and then even Giannis with 595. Like I think that's a lot closer than people kind of realize because you just look at the numbers and you're like, okay, wow, that's a 200 point difference. It's a 170 point difference. But looking at the voting breakdown, it seems like it was pretty mixed across the board, across these three at least, where you have 65 first place votes, 27 and 6 third place votes for Jokic, 26, 39, and 34 for Embiid, and 9, 32, and 52 for Giannis. So really was a season that it kind of feels like all three were deserving, and whatever all the writers, whatever their reasons were, they had their reasons, and that kind of is just how it fell. Like I said in the last video, it does suck for guys like especially Embiid, who really had like one of the best seasons of his career and still is going to go home without the award. I've heard a lot of people say, he got robbed, the Jokic stole it, and that's just it's not true. Really, all three of them had good years. I said all this before. I'm not trying to repeat myself, but I'm shocked that the voting is this split for all of the outrage that's come out. And I mean I think this just goes to show how strong a race it was. But it also is kind of funny looking at these bottom recipients. It's interesting to think about how the season played out because DeMar DeRozan down here with one fifth place vote for one total point to finish like 10th in the voting is wild to me after the start of the season that he had. He was getting MVP chance at Staples Center when I saw the Bulls play the Clippers. He was getting MVP chance in the Clippers arena. The stuff that he was doing to start this season for the Bulls was incredible, and I think part of it was no one expected it. Part of it was how good the Bulls were top to bottom. And then injuries kind of just took all the steam out, and it was a shame because he really did have a strong near career best season where he improved in all sorts of statistical categories that you know a player in his 30s doesn't typically improve in. So to see he only got one vote, it's a bummer. It's kind of like a reminder that this is like a narrative award, really, where like whoever heats up near the end of the year is probably going to dominate the discussion. Because it really feels like it was a pretty wide open race until everyone kind of narrowed it down to Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. Kevin Durant, kind of similarly, he started to have those injury issues, and that kind of just took him out. But that could also be, a product of having Kyrie Irving and James Harden, even though James Harden was out of shape and Kyrie Irving played 25 or so games. You still have that kind of not baggage, but like voters are, I'm sure, quick to use that as a reason to not vote you. In the middle here is interesting too. I'm surprised that Devin Booker and Chris Paul both got as many votes as they did. Chris Paul gets two fifth place votes, finishes with 2 points. But Devin Booker getting fourth place with 216 total votes. Kind of interesting to me because he really. I thought that the two of them, that Chris Paul and Book, would kind of just cancel each other out and that, like, they'd be like 7-8. or like 10-11. And I know there was like that late season push when it started to narrow down to those three that people were like, well, what about Devin Booker? I think even John Morant said, what about Devin Booker? He's on the best team. He's got the best stats on the best team. So it's cool to see him there. And then Luka, who was a preseason favorite to win the award, comes into the season a little bit out of shape, has a slow start, sluggish start. Now they're in the second round of the playoffs for the first time in years. The first time in his career, and it looks like I'm surprised that it's only 146 total points for him, to be honest. But I think that might just be disappointment from him being one of the preseason favorites, only to have that sluggish start to the season. I think if there's a year that he comes in and everyone's like, man, he's in killer shape and he's ready to go, then I think we might have to like get ready for a year-long narrative that he's going to be the MVP. It's his to lose. But until then, it kind of feels like it's going to be like this, where like he's in the conversation, but he's not dominating the conversation. I'm a little surprised too that Tatum is ahead of Ja in voting by so much. So Ja only gets 7 fifth place votes and a fourth place vote, despite being on the second best team in the league and completely turning that team around in basically his third year. It's crazy to me to see that he would only get 10 points. I think he should probably be a little higher up. I would probably put him on par with Booker. I would, if I was divvying up the points and everything, I would probably say he's around there in the top five conversation. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me to see, what narratives are kind of the ones that that people turn to break these down. And if you haven't seen the video of Jokic getting the award, the Denver Nuggets flew to Serbia to surprise him, and he pulls up in like a horse-drawn buggy. And then did the entire interview with TNT from his horse stable in Serbia. It's incredible. I mean, give him the award just for that. But yeah, so here's the breakdown. If anything on here surprises you, if you have thoughts about these, if there's anyone that you thought you'd see higher, lower, anything like that, please let me know in the comments. And that's it. Thanks for watching.